For decades, the aircraft carrier has been the epitome of American sea power, the centerpiece of American battle groups, projecting influence to the far reaches of the earth. USS Carl Vinson, the third United States Navy Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, has been a model of strength for 30 years and bears the name of a man whose leadership and initiative molded her and the Navy she serves. Congressman Carl Vinson was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives 10 days before the Navy's birthday in 1914, beginning a career of public service that would span 26 consecutive terms over 50 years. Carl Vinson's interest in sea power began early in his career and earned him a seat on the House Naval Affairs Committee. In 1931, he became chairman, overseeing the largest naval procurement bill in U.S. history, the Two Ocean Navy Act, increasing the size of the Navy by 70%. The act was passed just 1 year and 5 months before the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor.
Carl Vinson was a unique legislator. He was a born leader of men. He was not a partisan. His sole criteria in judging any measure was, is this good for my country? And he inevitably and invariably applied that rule, that standard, that test to every measure that came before that committee.
On March 15, 1980, the carrier was christened and launched in Newport News, Virginia. The congressman from Georgia became what was, at the time, the first living American to see the launching of a U.S. Navy ship named in their honor. Speaking at the ceremony, he would say, "It is impossible for me to find the words to express my gratitude for the high honor paid me here today. No event in my life, no event in my future can ever equal this day. My cup runneth over. My star has reached its zenith." 2 years later, USS Carl Vinson was in commission. With more than 7,000 people in attendance, the ship's commanding officer, Captain Richard Martin, would proclaim of his crew, "We are ready to go where we are tasked to go." By March 1983, Carl Vinson was underway on her maiden deployment for a cruise around the world. In Busan, South Korea, her 9th port visit, an assassination attempt was made on South Korean President Chun Hwan. With rumors that North Korea was behind the assassination attempt, Carl Vinson, at the time flagship for Battle Group Charlie, loitered in Korean waters awaiting hostilities. When diplomacy succeeded in diffusing tensions, Carl Vinson continued her cruise on schedule, heading to Hawaii and on to her new home port of Naval Air Station Alameda, California. Having steamed over 40,000 miles and conducted almost 12,000 aircraft launches and recoveries. March 1984 saw the Carl Vinson adopted by San Francisco's Mayor Dianne Feinstein as San Francisco's own, and a 33-member committee was created to foster a relationship with the ship that continues to this day. By November 1984, Carl Vinson was underway on her second deployment and unpredictably embroiled in a Cold War war of wits. While transiting the Tsugaru Strait with USS Midway into the Sea of Japan, Russian aircraft, to include Tu-95 Bears and numerous Russian ships and submarines, continually surveyed the Vinson during her transit, forcing both carriers to maintain a 24-hour flight schedule. The Russians were able to close to within 60 nautical miles of Carl Vinson, with her personnel enduring 50-knot winds in the cold northern seas. Having crossed the Sea of Japan, Carl Vinson and Midway separated, and she steamed into Yokosuka, Japan for a brief port visit. January 1985 to mid-April had Carl Vinson deployed in the Indian Ocean for 107 consecutive days of operations, during which she received her first Meritorious Unit Commendation for her work between November 1984 and May 1985. In October of 1985, Tony Scott would embark to film flight deck and aerial footage for the film Top Gun. The next year, Carl Vinson would see a series of high-tempo exercises to include RIMPAC 86 and deploy on her second Western Pacific and Indian Ocean deployment and third deployment overall. During her transit west, Carl Vinson would become the first aircraft carrier to operate in the Bering Sea. Carl Vinson's contribution to women's history came May 26, 1993, when, while off the coast of California, Lieutenant Shannon Workman completed her initial carrier qualifications aboard. A year later, Workman would become the Navy's first female combat pilot with VAQ-130 aboard the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. In celebration of the 50th anniversary of victory over Japan, Carl Vinson became the centerpiece of a parade of ships. She embarked 12 vintage World War II aircraft, launching 10 of the aircraft off Waikiki Beach before becoming the reviewing platform for an international parade of ships. Stretching for over 3 miles, the formation consisted of 17 ships from Russia and the United States. Carl Vinson would provide national command and control for President Bill Clinton during his time underway for the celebration, dropping a wreath into the sea to memorialize veterans of the war. In 1996, the ship would support Operation Southern Watch, enforcing no-fly zones over Iraq for her first time. After a port visit to Muscat, Oman, she became the platform for Operation Desert Strike, an operation punishing Saddam Hussein for violating UN Security Council Resolution 688. "Our objectives are clear," said President Bill Clinton. "To make Saddam pay a price for the latest act of brutality, reducing his ability to threaten his neighbors and America's interests." Carl Vinson would play a similar part in 1998. Iraq's failure to again comply with UN resolutions saw the Carl Vinson and Carrier Air Wing 11 aircraft destroy 50 targets in 14 strikes during Operation Desert Fox. In 1997, Carl Vinson changed home port from Alameda, California to Bremerton, Washington. The ship would promise the people of the Bay Area they would always remain San Francisco's own. Later, in 2001, Carl Vinson would perform in a starring role as the aircraft carrier in the film Behind Enemy Lines.
We went out to sea, I think it was about 3 weeks, and boy was I mad. I was mad. I was like, I can't believe the Navy is sending us out to the middle of the ocean to film a stupid movie. And sure enough, we went out there, but it was exciting. I mean, they had these guys, they were regular, they just talk to you, and so they were walking around talking to people and signing autographs, so it was neat.
20th Century Fox would send 75 members of their production team aboard to film flight operations off the California coast. 23rd July, Carl Vinson deployed to the Western Pacific. Through September, the carrier would transit and visit Pattaya Beach, Thailand, and Singapore. Steaming towards the Indian Ocean, Carl Vinson received word of the terrorist attacks of 9/11.
We had just finished practicing drills to go into the Straits, and it was nighttime. And I remember I was coming in the ship because I worked at nights. I was coming in and I said, "Oh wow, what movie is that?" And it was kind of like one of those things everybody's just like, "Oh, is that a movie?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And I said, "Well, I'm gonna go eat. I'll be back." And then everybody in the mess decks was watching it, and then everybody started talking about it, and then I realized, oh crap, that really did happen.
Carl Vinson received orders to immediately rendezvous with the USS Enterprise, then off the Yemeni coast. Early October of 2001, Carl Vinson and Enterprise launched the first strikes of Operation Enduring Freedom against the Al-Qaeda terrorists and their Taliban supporters in Afghanistan.
We had to do what we had to do. A lot of the AOs were writing notes and stuff on the bombs. There was a lot of ordnance that was going through the mess decks up to the top, but nobody cared. There was a lot of people that weren't sleeping. It was just whatever it took. And finally, when we got the order, it was like October 5th. Is when we got the orders to finally start bombing. I know that the destroyers started sending their missiles first, but once we started, it was like no kidding, nonstop.
In December, Carl Vinson would turn over to USS John C. Stennis, having dropped over 2 million pounds of ordnance against the enemy in Afghanistan. Carl Vinson entered the shipyards at Northrop Grumman Newport News Shipyard in 2005, becoming the third Nimitz-class carrier to begin her refueling and complex overhaul. A $1.2 billion project to refuel her reactors and renovate or replace various ships' systems and spaces. In early 2010, only hours after a magnitude 7.0 earthquake in Haiti, Carl Vinson was ordered to the country to provide relief efforts in support of Operation Unified Response. The ship proceeded to Mayport, Florida, to receive additional supplies and helicopters, arriving off Port-au-Prince January 15th. The ship and her air wing would stay on station for a month, delivering 161.5 tons of food, 87,200 gallons of water, 18 tons of medical supplies, and fly 435 medical evacuations. Captain Bruce Lindsay, Carl Vinson's commanding officer, would say to his crew, "You have become the faces of the Navy's slogan, a global force for good. No one can possibly doubt the sincerity of that phrase, not after what you have accomplished." Having done her duty in Haiti, Carl Vinson steamed to South America, transiting the Straits of Magellan and following exercises with the Argentine Navy, arrived at her new home port of Naval Air Station North Island in San Diego, California. On Veterans Day 2011, Carl Vinson would become the first aircraft carrier to host a basketball game during the Quicken Loans Carrier Classic. The game, attended by the President of the United States, Barack Obama, and First Lady Michelle Obama, saw the Michigan State Spartans and the North Carolina Tar Heels battle it out on the carrier's flight deck, kicking off the 2011 NCAA basketball season. Before the game, President Obama would address the crowd and ESPN audience, discussing a topic rarely spoken of aboard Carl Vinson.
I think some of you may know, because it's been reported, that men and women on the Carl Vinson were part of that critical mission to bring Osama bin Laden to justice.
Today, as America's favorite carrier celebrates 30 years of service to her country, she finds herself once again at the forefront of our nation's security.
Done the OEF mission, nothing better than that, as I talk about on the 1MC. We continue to provide support to our American soldiers and Marines on the ground. And we have instances of putting ordnance on target that allowed Marines to escape and get medevaced and their lives potentially saved. And what better mission than that? And then to go in and get a little port visit and then provide maritime presence with what's going on with Iran around in the international community as a whole, but particularly with the Iranians. And so the crew's done great. I'm very proud of them. And we've got a little ways to go. I know the job's not done till that last line goes over in North Island and everybody's safely back home, but we're doing fantastic.
Projecting American sea power to the far reaches of an unpredictable globe, the embodiment of her motto, vis per mare, strength from the sea.